Hello everyone. I figured I'd do a video about my views on race. I have written about it before on many occasions and I've mentioned it so many times. This is a problem, a problem of mine though. I always mention these things in passing in conversation. I never set aside particular videos to say in concrete what I believe. This is partly because I'm still learning, right? So I'm hesitant to, especially when it comes to a topic like this, to sit down and say, yeah, this is everything I believe. It's never going to change. And like, I'll keep the video online for ages, and then if my opinions change, people might watch that again and think I still think what I used to think, and it doesn't reflect the nature of a young person's mind and the fact that there is still much learning to do. But I thought with this topic, I'm quite certain, and just that little preface there, I think clears any potential misunderstandings at a later date up. So, on to race. My views on biological race. We'll deal with a standard understanding of race first, are pretty much the same as everyone else's, involved with nationalism, white nationalism, etc., etc. White countries should be for white people. That it doesn't get more simple than that. However, where I would diverge is when it comes to the full meaning of race, because to me, when we consider this word, only the modern definition is really used by people, and to me that's a missed opportunity. The proper definition of race really means to be of a continuum, it's one's form in a sense, one's actuality. One's race predetermines everything, aside from one's caste. But race determines your language, the way you look, really the way you think, the way you approach situations, your spirituality, the way you understand God, and the divine and the spiritual. All these things do come down to a question of being and of form. So race, we could, if you wanted to write it, put a capital R there. For ancient man, for traditional man, religion was the same as his race. The two were combined. So, an Iceni, Boudica, her race and religion were all the same thing. It was to be an Iceni, to be of that destiny and that continuum, to be a part of that culture and group and family and land, their territory. It was something very, very about one's identity was racial, but race encompassed everything. So, for the Romans, the Roman emperor underwent second birth to be son of Mars. It underwent a ceremony. He was a Roman, okay, not just by virtue of his being born in ancient Italy, being born in Rome, and not all emperors were born in Rome, we have to keep in mind, but because he partook in the empire. Augustus was not Roman because he was Roman by blood, at least not biologically, just biologically, but because he partook in the Imperium. He was a part of that spiritual event of an empire which transcended its worldly manifestation, and you have that epitomized in Augustus's role as Pontifex Maximus, which I've mentioned many times. So racial identity is more than just having particular genetics or particular genetic traits. It is everything. Richard Spencer's kind of thing, become who we are, is corny. I know it is kind of... a lot of people, especially Europeans, think it's silly. But if you take that and you apply it to someone who really, if you apply it all the way, fully, to become who you are, it is to embrace race and to embrace oneself and one's race, because oneself is one's race in a sense. The human being, you, me, we're part of something. Mind that we're part of something before us and beyond us and outside of us. But our family, our destiny, our culture, our theed, and that shapes everything, how we understand the world. So this is why I differentiate between higher race and lower race. Higher race is what I'm interested in personally, because the questions of lower race are just common sense. Don't miscegenate. Don't promote the interests of outgroups over that of the in-group. Don't betray your family. That's common sense. As far as actions of individuals go, I could go on about hypothetical things which I have no control over, but I don't like doing that. I like to keep things within the realm of things one can actually interact with. Even if it's at the spiritual level, it's active, conscious. What I'm doing is shown, what you're doing, you're aware of. It's not theory, it's actuality. Theory. Learn to speak, Adam. But yeah, so when I talk about race, is what I'm talking about. So, if I was English, I am English. But what does that mean from a higher perspective to be of the English race? It means to understand the history of England, to understand its myths, and its particular nature, which is unique and specific and not replicable anywhere else in the world. Can races come and go? Yeah, races can come and go. The English race was basically created between 500 AD and 700, and then you have it after Alfred the Great unified England, unified all the various Saxon tribes under one god and one banner, his own, the Kingdom of Wessex. That was when Englishness was born. The seeds for it had been sown when the Celtic king Vortigern, invited I think they were Jutes, Hengist and Horsa. I think they were Jutes. Saxons/Jutes, I can't remember offhand. But when he invited Hengist and Horsa, who were Germanic, as mercenaries, because Vortigern was fighting against other Britons and other Celtic tribes, Vortigern was getting his arse handed to him, and sought the help of these mercenaries, who and decided, well, this is a nice country, we'll take that. We'll take your land, your kingdom, and we'll send you into hiding, and you'll die in Wales. And that's the story of Hengist and Horsa and Vortigern. You can read that in St. Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People, which is a very interesting historical work. I definitely encourage people to look it up. But yeah, races can come and go. I think a race is full and proper and natural when it has its earthly manifestation as well as its divine elements and its interaction with the divine. So the birth of the English race was a sacred act. Alfred did that in prayer and in basically a holy act when that happened. Which is why I'm skeptical about American people. Is there an American race? No. Could there be? Maybe. Could there be? I don't know. Maybe. You have to be American. I can't really answer that question. I have American friends. I say, dude, come back to Europe. This is your homeland. This is where you belong. Especially if you're sensitive to spirituality and tradition and these things. America was born, unfortunately, in a bout of revolution and a modern fervour of an anti-spiritual, anti-traditional type. Compared to the modern world, it's very conservative, but not quite. It's not as different as some people would have you believe. So I think with that I've said my piece. Thank you for listening.